Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. So it has only happened a handful of times, about a dozen and a half times, 18 to be exact, at least the ones that I have counted, where the protagonist has lost a duel. It does not happen often in Yu-Gi-Oh! For reference, we've had over 1,000 episodes from Duel Monsters to Sevens, so the fact that it has only happened 18 times, 18 full duels, kind of says a lot in terms of the rarity of this event, and I thought it would be a cool video to go duel by duel and actually rank every single time the Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist has lost a duel. Now, a couple of things. We are not counting flashbacks, because obviously there's nothing to even talk about from a substantive point of view, because we didn't really get much in that Yusei and Jack flashback in 5Ds, and we are not talking about duels that started midway or in the last turn. There were a lot of Yuma losses, including almost all of his losses to Bronk, his loss to Caswell, his loss to Roku the second time, where they started those duels during the final turn, and I feel like it's unfair to compare those duels to duels that we actually saw from start to finish. So I have compiled a list of duels that are eligible for this list. You can see them on screen right now, and these are the duels show by show that we will be ranking. So it's basically a best of 18, a top 18 list, and that's what we are going to be doing. I hope you guys give me your top 5 favorites from this category down below, and I hope you enjoy the video. Without any more intro babbling, let's get to the content. I hope you guys enjoy. Coming in last on this list is actually Yugi versus Pegasus. So I had a little bit of an internal debate as to whether I should even include this duel, but technically Pegasus does defeat little Yugi in the second episode of Duel Monsters. It's the duel where Yugi is sucked into the videotape, Pegasus is able to steal the soul of the grandfather, and it gets the entire events of Duelist Kingdom in motion. The duel is very quick, it's very weird, it's very trippy, and all in all, it's really not that memorable. Yugi and Pegasus end up having a fantastic duel later on at the end of the arc, and so when I compare this to that, it's not even really a comparison. This is definitely one of the quicker duels on the list, and in my opinion, one of the more forgettable ones. I don't even know if I should have included it, but he technically did defeat Yugi, so there you have it. This one kicks off our list at 18. Coming in 17th is Yuzu defeating Yuya, also in Episode 2 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. Episode 2 and the protagonist losing is actually something that happens in multiple Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, which is pretty interesting. Arc 5 is no different. Yuzu and Yuya have a duel, which is basically one big advertisement trying to get the onlooking students to join the Yugioh Duel School. The Yugioh Duel School has more momentum than ever after Yuya invented pendulum summoning in the very first episode. The whole premise of this duel is just to have Yuya show off pendulum summoning, and he has egg on his face when he doesn't remember how to do it. Yuya forgets how to pendulum summon, Yuzu's attack goes through, and what was supposed to be a scripted Yuya win and a big comeback using his pendulum method ended up being only the second time in Yu-Gi-Oh! History that a girl character defeated our main protagonist, although with a heavy asterisk. If Yuya did not forget how to pendulum, I don't think Yuzu would have won, mainly because the script said Yuya was supposed to win. That was the entire point of this duel, to show off pendulum summoning. So the whole fact that this duel was scripted, love the foreshadowing, love the Zark Ray foreshadowing, did a video on it, I'll link it down below. But as for the duel, as for comparing it to other moments where the protagonist lost, felt like this one always had a nice asterisk next to it, and so it comes in 17th for me. Another duel that has a little bit of an asterisk next to it is the next duel. Coming in 16th, Rebecca Hawkins defeats Yugi Moto. Now, I like this duel a little more than the Yuzu Yuya one because I thought we got some really cool backstory as to the relationship between Rebecca's grandfather and Yugi's grandfather, so the story was really good, but the end of this duel really just kind of spoils it for me. Yugi decides to surrender to Rebecca, and that is technically, and for a very long time, all the way until Yuzu defeated Yuya, was the only time in Yu-Gi-Oh! History that a girl character defeated our main protagonist, which is crazy, but again, you have to put an asterisk next to it, because Yugi does not lose this duel if he does not surrender to Rebecca. The duel was okay, it's a little forgettable in my opinion. I did love the backstory though, and so this one is a little higher than Yuzu Yuya. It comes in at 16th. Coming in 15th is our first Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's duel, and that is Rook defeating Yuga in Episode 2. Another Episode 2 loss for our protagonist. This duel felt very tutorial-like. I even said it during my episode review for this Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's episode, which was about a year ago. This was the first true rush duel, I always felt like, and Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's did not have the luxury of just building on a game that everyone already knew and was very familiar with and just had to kind of incorporate a new summoning method. Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's had to introduce, and is still having to introduce, an entirely new version of Yu-Gi-Oh! To its viewers. And so for that reason, Yuga versus Rook feels very tutorial-like. There are some pretty cool moments, but Gakuto and the rest of the people that are watching really kind of cut into that tension by explaining everything that is going on. So again, it felt very tutorial-like. Rook does end up defeating Yuga, which was a result that I really did like. It surprised me. I thought Yuga was going to win. These two are set to have a rematch, most likely at the end of this season, which at the time of recording this video is going to be in like 3 weeks. So I am super hyped for that rematch duel. But the only time they faced off was in Episode 2, and Rook got the better of Yuga. This one comes in 15th. Coming in 14th is kind of a weird one. Sergey defeats Yuya as part of a Sergey versus Barrett versus Yuya duel. This duel does not actually start as Sergey versus Yuya. It starts as Yuya versus Barrett, and I loved the action between Yuya versus Barrett. Barrett was trying to restrain Yuya, really was restraining Yuya to keep Zark at bay. Yuri and Yugioh were also having a duel right across from where Yuya and Barrett were dueling, and, you know, Serena was there, and it just seemed like everything was finally coming together and something massive was going to happen. And of course, as we know, that's really not what happened. Yuzu showed up, everyone disappeared, Sergey showed up, he made quick work of Yuya. Print Earthbound Servants, please, print Earthbound Servants. Anyway, Sergey defeats Yuya, kidnaps Yuzu, flies back to Jean-Michel Raget's fortress. It's a weird duel, and because I'm kind of judging the Sergey-Yuya part, I don't really know what to make of this duel. Do I only judge the Sergey versus Yuya part, or do I judge Yuya versus Barrett as part of this one as well, or do I just judge it from when Sergey showed up? I don't know. Either way, I put it at 14th. Episode 92 is an episode that really annoyed me. The dueling was interesting, but the story going on around it being once again delayed by Yuzu's presence was very underwhelming, in my opinion. Coming in 13th place is Shark defeating Yuma in Episode 10. So actually, a lot of people forget that Shark even defeated Yuma. They dueled so many times, and this is one of, I think, their more forgettable duels. It's a super quick duel, literally only lasting 4 turns and about half an episode. But the whole premise of this duel was that Shark was going down a pretty dark path, hanging out with some shady characters and kind of abandoning dueling. Yuma felt a little guilty for that because he was the one who defeated Shark earlier in the show, and so he wanted to know really what was up with Shark. He confronts Shark. The two of them end up dueling. The duel is very short, but what I love about this duel is it actually had some stakes. Yuma bet his keychain that if he lost, he was going to give Shark his keychain, and Shark actually does take the keychain for a little bit before throwing it behind him and leaving the scene, telling Yuma to leave him alone. These two dueled so many times, and this was probably their most forgettable duel. They had a phenomenal duel at the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, and so it's a little forgettable and just way too short without any jaw-dropping moment for me to have it ranked any higher. Yuma versus Shark Episode 10 comes in 13th. Coming in 12th, Asana beats Yuga in Episode 32 of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's. Asana was the main threat of the third arc. As we are aware now, she is not by any means a villain or an evil character. She was kind of having her hand forced by Goha to go against Yuga and try to crush and destroy Rush Duels, and crush and destroy Rush Duels she almost does. In Episode 32, she completely wipes the floor with Yuga. And what I loved about this duel is it was the first time Asana was rush dueling, and you could tell she was actually having fun and enjoying it. She drew her maximum, which is a method exclusive to rush dueling, a summoning method exclusive to rush dueling, and you could just see the happiness kind of drain off her face and the serious tone kick in. She says, "I'm sorry it has to end here." She summons her maximum monster, blindsides Yuga, the second time Yuga was blindsided by a maximum in the show at this point, and completely obliterates him as soon as her maximum hit the field. The duel was pretty quick, but it had this awesome maximum moment, only the third time in Yu-Gi-Oh! History that a girl beat the main protagonist, so that was also really cool to see. Asana beating Yuga comes in at number 12. Coming in at number 11 is Roku versus Yuma from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. The nostalgia is very high for this one, and I have a feeling nostalgia is probably one of the big reasons that this duel even ranks so high, because the duel between Roku and Yuma is extremely short. But what is so fun about this duel is these two duelists duel in Roku's dojo, which has a bunch of legendary monster statues from the Duel Monsters series and from the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX series. We see Roku and Yuma use these monsters. Yuma uses Dark Magician, Roku uses Blue Eyes. Obviously, Blue Eyes is a little bit stronger, and so Roku gets the advantage very quickly and obliterates Yuma with Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. I mean, completely obliterates him. Nostalgia, again, is a big reason that propels this up to 11, but nostalgia alone is not going to be able to throw it into the top 10. It was a very quick duel. It was a very short duel, but it was an awesome duel, especially for older Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans. Roku beating Yuma comes in 11th. Coming in 10th is Kaibaman defeating Judai. Another duel that definitely gets a benefit of nostalgia, but I felt like this duel had a little bit more fleshed out moments and meaning to it. I thought this duel was very important for Judai's character. I thought Kaibaman having Judai kind of get over his fear of being defeated was really important. The whole duel is kind of an acid trip. They get sucked into this weird area of the springs that they were hanging out in, Judai, Sho, and Hayato, and they have to duel, or Judai has to duel this character that resembles Seto Kaiba, the monster Kaibaman. Kaibaman ends up getting the win, just like Roku did, by summoning Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and just hearing Kaiba's voice and basically watching Seto Kaiba destroy Judai was a lot of fun. And the duel is, again, a little short, but I felt like it was way more impactful than that Roku duel and a lot of duels before it for Judai's character. And it had, of course, that amazing moment of seeing Blue Eyes Ultimate obliterate Judai. So that duel cracks the top 10 for me. Coming in 9th is Hellkaiser versus Judai, another Season 1 loss for our Yu-Gi-Oh! GX protagonist. Another duel that I liked quite a bit. Hellkaiser was billed as a very good, very untouchable duelist to this point. It would take a character with sheer confidence, and here comes Slifer Red Judai Yuki to challenge him to a duel. I was very happy Ryo got the win. I think Ryo absolutely should have gotten the win, given the power scaling that was billed going into this duel, but it was still kind of surreal to see a character like Judai, who had so much momentum early on, lose. Everyone was shocked. Even Asuka goes, Judai lost? I mean, everyone was shocked, even though Hellkaiser was the man at Duel Academy during this first season. It's a great duel for Sho as well. Sho really gets his life kind of back on track after watching Judai stand up to his brother and finally getting the actual meaning behind his brother's lessons. It's a really good duel. Ryo's final turn before he wins is awesome. It comes in number 9 for me. Coming in 8th, Jack Atlas defeating Yuya in Arc 5. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys saw Jack on this thumbnail and thought, what is he doing on this thumbnail? He never beat Yusei. Well, Jack finally beats a main protagonist. It just was 2 shows too late. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, the Synchro Dimension arc starts. Jack Atlas is the king. Yuya immediately is able to take on the king, and I mean gets obliterated by him. The duel is pretty short, but I thought it was such a badass moment to see Jack absolutely wipe the floor with Yuya and kind of reset the power scaling as soon as Arc 5 entered the Synchro Dimension. I thought it was a great introduction for the king of 5Ds and now the king of Arc 5. It gave legitimacy immediately to Jack Atlas. Maybe he didn't need it because he was a legacy character, but it's still fun. It's still fun seeing him finally defeat a main protag. We know how badly he wanted to defeat Yusei, so it's fun. We all love Jack. It's fun. Jack defeats Yuya on this list. Coming in number 7 is Romin defeating Yuga in episode 40 of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. In my opinion, this is probably the greatest victory any Yu-Gi-Oh! Girl has ever had in the history of the franchise. Our main girl lead, without any vices or asterisks, finally took down our main protagonist in a straight-up duel, right? Rebecca beat Yugi because Yugi surrendered. Yuzu beat Yuya because Yuya forgot how to pendulum. Asana beat Yuga because Asana blindsided him with a maximum. Romin beats Yuga straight up. just straight up. Now, Yuga does have some bad luck. He doesn't draw into any spells and traps, but that can happen in a duel. Anytime you duel in Yu-Gi-Oh, you never know how it's going to go. You never know who's going to win. It was a great episode for Romin to kind of get her arc and her trajectory back on track after hearing that Princess G, her idol, might be retiring, and just seeing a Yu-Gi-Oh girl actually take on our main lead, a very good lead in Yuga, by the way, a very good duelist in Yuga, and actually defeat him was great. The duel was a little bit short. It didn't have any really wow moments for me, and so that's why it is a little lower on this list. But for a girl character, this is the best win any girl has ever had in Yu-Gi-Oh, in my opinion. Romin straight up defeating Yuga in episode 40 takes number 7 for me on this list. Coming in 6th, Seto Kaiba defeats Yugi Moto in round 2 in Duelist Kingdom. So a lot of people forget that Kaiba actually did defeat Yugi. When you think Yugi versus Kaiba, at least when I do, I think of the Exodia duel and I think of the Battle City duel. But there was that Duelist Kingdom duel where Seto Kaiba was about to lose and threatened to kill himself if Yugi attacked and won the duel. I went back and rewatched this duel, and it actually holds up pretty well. It's got your crazy Duelist Kingdom rules, which I know is a gripe for a lot of people, but I really enjoyed it. I thought the emotional stakes and just seeing these two characters duel is always a treat. It's one of the best rivalries in all of anime, let alone Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think this duel does really hold up, even when looking at that Exodia duel and the Battle City duel, and seeing Kaiba go to those lengths to just win, where it's either going to be his life is over or he's going to win. That's what winning means to him. That's a lesson that Gozabura taught him when Gozabura killed himself after Seto Kaiba took over the company, that losing should be the equivalence of death. And even seeing his twisted stepfather's lessons affect him that much in this episode without it being explicitly stated is fantastically done. And so Seto Kaiba defeating Yugi by the way of Yugi not attacking and essentially surrendering is the number 6 spot on this list. Coming in 5th is Edo or Aster Phoenix defeating Judai in Season 2 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. So this duel was not only really, really good, one of the better duel quality duels on this list. I think the top 5 all either has really good duel quality or has one of the most heart-stopping moments and best moments in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Edo defeating Judai was really, really well done. What I loved about this duel is what it set up for the future. Edo defeats Judai. Judai all of a sudden can't see the cards anymore. That's what causes him to go to Neospace and ultimately get his Neospatian monsters, which ends up being a huge part of his character. So this duel was massive for the down the road implications. But during this duel, hearing about Edo's dad, what happened with Edo's dad, and really getting the ball rolling on what had been a pretty slow starting Season 2. I'm not the biggest fan of Season 2 of GX, but this was one of the standout duels. Was really, really fascinating and intense to see. Edo ends up defeating Judai. It's actually the last time that Judai ever loses in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Judai dramatically collapses as he loses sight of the cards, and that is the end of this duel. It kicks off our top 5. Edo defeating Judai comes in at number 5. Coming in 4th is Nail versus Yuga in episode 23 of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. Now, if you have not watched Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, this is a scene that I highly recommend you look up and find. It is the first time that we see a Maximum monster. Nail's voice actor, it's the same voice actor as Kirito from Sword Art Online, so he's done very, very well. And this is one of the, in my opinion, best scenes that a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime has done. One of the best scenes, probably in the last 10 years. I cannot tell you how much I loved the first time that we saw a Maximum summon. Nail's Yugo Dragon is absolutely ginormous, and even though the duel is really, really short, it's still such an amazing moment, in my opinion, that it propels this duel all the way up to the number 4 spot. Going into this duel, a lot of people thought Yuga would probably win, even though Nail was the main threat of this second arc, of the Maximum arc, and a lot of us were wondering why it was called Maximum arc. Well, when Nail summons this monster, it is an amazing 4-minute segment. You hear all of the citizens of his little town start to get really, really intense. You hear them like banging the gongs. You knew something big was going to happen. Kaito was also starting to figure it out. He was yelling towards Yuga to get away, and that's when Nail summons this absolute behemoth, Egyptian god-like monster that just obliterates Yuga and his Seven's Road Magician and hands one of the more definitive and heart-stopping losses to a protagonist that we have ever seen. Nail destroying Yuga comes in at number 4, mainly just for this moment on this list. Taking the bronze is Kaito defeating Yuma in episodes 72 and 73 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, which concludes Zexal 1, the first part of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal anime. Now, this was a duel that always shocked me. I really felt like Yuma was going to get the win. I think a lot of us felt that way, but Kaito ends up pulling out a victory. It's a really, really good duel, a lot of good back and forth, and after we had seen so many high stakes after high stakes after high stakes duel, it was nice to get a more relaxing and calming duel, and I think the fact the stakes were lower kind of gave us a false sense of security that, Yuma's gonna win, no need to worry about this one. And then at the end, when Kaito pulls out the victory, it's like, oh shoot, was not expecting that. I love the duel quality here. It's one of the longer duels on this list, and so that automatically already puts it ahead of a lot of these duels, which are only 4 to 5 turns. The chemistry between Kaito and Yuma is great, and again, the shock victory of Kaito puts it at the number 3 spot for me on this list. Coming in second is the man front and center on that thumbnail, and that is Rafael defeating Yugi in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. One of the more shocking results probably ever in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. We didn't really know what to expect in Season 4 because Season 4 was a filler arc, meaning there was no manga material that it followed, unlike most of Duel Monsters. You know, Noah's Virtual World was anime exclusive. Waking the Dragon, which was the Doma arc in Season 4, also anime exclusive. And so when Yami Yugi steps up to face Rafael, you think it's going to be like any Yami Yugi duel where he pulls out the victory. However, Yami Yugi starts to get a little nervous and ends up using the Seal of Orichalcos. We see him become this basically Dark Pharaoh that Rafael was alluding to the entire duel. Rafael ends up defeating him because Yami Yugi gave into the darkness, so a little lesson there. Don't give into the darkness no matter how tempting it is. I always love that message from this duel. Rafael actually defeats Yami Yugi. It's jaw-dropping, it's stunning, it's shocking. Little Yugi loses his soul to the Seal of Orichalcos, and Rafael and his goons get away with Yugi's soul. It's just a crazy result. It really is. And it's easily the best or second best duel where the protagonist lost. I went back and forth with 1 and 2 quite a bit, but I ended up putting this a little behind the first place duel. Rafael beating Yugi, number 2 on this list. The best duel where the Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist lost was when Akaba Reiji defeated Yuya Sakaki at the end of Season 2 in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, or at the end of the tournament arc, Season 1, whatever you want to call it. This was a fantastic duel. Reiji announced that the entire tournament was a setup to form the Lancers and to weed out the weak duelists that weren't strong enough to handle an interdimensional war. But we know that Yuzu had potentially, now we knew she was fine, but we knew that Yuzu had potentially lost and been kidnapped by the people that Reiji was going after. And so Yuya immediately was infuriated with this, knowing that Reiji put them in legitimate danger. He even stepped up to try and punch Reiji in the face and told him that he would make him grovel. So the build up to this duel went from 0 to 100 real quick, but the final 10 minutes of this duel are fantastic. The action's really good throughout, but again, the last 10 minutes is incredible. Yuya takes a blow from Kali Yuga, which leads to Reiji taunting him and asking him where that conviction went that he showed earlier. Then Yuya talks about how not only is this duel for Yuzu, but it's also for Yuto, who's another character that lost his life because of this tournament and because of this war that Reiji is now trying to go headfirst into. Yuya summons Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon. Reiji laughs sinisterly, even palming the dragon in his fist, saying this is exactly what he wanted to see, which is one of my favorite delivered lines probably in the entirety of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. Yuya attacks with Rebellion Dragon. Reiji then activates Kali Yuga's effect. We have some amazing back and forth between these two duelists. It looks like Yuya's going to get the win, and then Reiji steps in and blows Yuya away, defeats him, and finishes off what is a superb Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 duel. Great action, great emotion, great build-up, a bit of a surprise ending with Reiji actually getting the win, and all of those factors just made for such a memorable duel. In my opinion, it's one of the best in Arc 5, probably number 2 for me, and it does take the number 1 spot on this list for the best duel that we have ever seen where the Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist was defeated. And guys, that about wraps it up. This was going to be a long video, and if you stayed till the end, I will tell you a new series that I have in store. I am currently watching the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 anime, speaking of which, on Twitch every Sunday. Once that concludes, I will be uploading a video where I rank every single Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 duel. It will be the longest video on my channel and the most ambitious video on my channel, and I might end up doing that with every single Yu-Gi-Oh! show. So hopefully you enjoy these long lists. If you don't, you probably didn't make it to this part anyway, so it's all good. Either way, I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know some of your favorites from this topic down below. Let me know your favorite duel where the main protagonist was defeated. Again, it doesn't happen often, but it happens enough where I felt it would be cool to rank them all. Have to thank all of you for your amazing support. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you so much for watching. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Panther J, Blue Maiden 28, Jarrett Buller, XSlayer64, Brandon Gomez, and TenjoKogamiZaizen, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, and Anime Kaput, and to my Egyptian God tier patron, XZ's Lover 104. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon. Thank you to everyone who is a YouTube channel member. I appreciate it so much. You guys help me out tremendously. I stream on Twitch, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. All of those will be linked down below in the description. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll talk to you down below, and I hope you have an amazing day.